that insurance isn't necessarily the answer. We'll talk about what it is that cyber insurance can give you, but it's more about making you aware of what you can do to control the risks within your business. Now, whenever we talk to clients, we act for over 5,000 accountants in the UK. We place, as Ian said earlier, about £6.5 million for the premium just exclusively for UK SME accountants. If you take the major practices, that takes us well over £20 million. Every time I sit down with a client and we start talking about how they're managing information, how they're managing data, and what protections they're looking at, the challenge I get back is, Chris, tell me why I'm a target, because I don't think I'm a target. What you need to get your head away from is that hackers aren't going to be, isn't someone sitting in a room with a hood on trying to work out what your passwords are and get into your system. Unless you're a politically exposed organisation or you have tremendous value in terms of credibility for attacking your system. So if there is, credit for the hacker in terms of what his ranking is on the dark web, or if you've got tons of cash that are vulnerable, then it isn't going to be someone targeting you. What it is going to be weaknesses in your system, weaknesses in your controls and your people, and it's random, and it's attacking sector. This is hacking on an industrial scale. One of the things that Oz said is that there are two types of businesses in the world, those that have been hacked and those that don't know that have been hacked. And that was a comment that was coined by Misha Glenny. The ONS published cyber security and cyber crime as a standalone criminal act for the first time last year. So in 2014, so September last year this came out, so we'll get the 2015 numbers very shortly. There were 3.8 million instances of cyber crime, specific cyber crime in the UK. And cyber attacks shouldn't be ignored. So this is, you will have seen these statistics because every insurance broker and his dog is talking about them, but also lots of other professional advisors are talking about them because this is Information Commissioner Office information. So to mark European General Data Protection and European Data Protection Day, the ICO commissioned a survey which they pushed out through YouGov, and the respondents were quite frightening. It said that 20% of commercial buyers would definitely stop using a professional service provider in the event of a reportable breach. So this is a breach to the ICO. But 57% they would think about it. They would potentially change provider. 3/4 of our customers, your customers, are vulnerable to walk out the door in the event that you have a breach. And I'll explain, data breaches can happen from fairly innocuous occurrences. From an insurance perspective, you'll hear people talk cyber, and it's appallingly titled, because cyber to us are two things. It's data and privacy, and it's crime. So data and privacy is your data, your client's data, and your employees' data. And the means in which this data is compromised are completely innocuous, and most commonly it's things like replying all. It's forwarding an email without deleting the email trail or being aware of what the attachments are that you're sending out. The most common one is Outlook pre-populating and emailing the wrong Chris, and I'm sure everybody here has done something like that. We counsel our clients and give sort of risk management guidance and lots of briefing notes where we tell them that if you're going to be sending anything out, it has an attachment and it's got sensitive information, it should be encrypted. The amount of times I've sat down with clients and they say, we do send it out. You go, I know that because you've sent me a load of your risk register information. But you've sent it password protected and you've put the password in the email that you've sent it to me with. And it happens all the time. Crime, on the other hand, is commonly referred to as sort of social engineering. So this is the manipulation of the data that they extract. So it's metadata. And it's extracted through nefarious means, and that's how it's used. So you'll see telephone fraud, phishing. If you don't use a modern telephone exchange, BT will hold a line open for 2 minutes. You may have heard of this. So a very common and simple telephone fraud scam is that someone will phone you up and say, there's been some fraudulent activity on your account. Don't want you to give me anything now. Don't want you to do anything now. Don't want to compromise your security. What I want you to do is quickly get your credit card out. There'll be a number on the back of it. Dial that number. You'll go through to one of my colleagues in the security team, and they'll take some information off you to make sure that those transactions are valid. So you put the phone down in a panic, get your wallet, get your card out, dial the number. They haven't hung up. So they're sitting there waiting, and they hand the phone over to one of their mates, and you phone up, and they go, hello, Mr. Lennon, how are you? I'm very well. Can I take your sort code, your pass number? Can I take your security details? Can I get this information? And because you've dialed the number, your guard's down, and you'll give this information willingly. Now, if you've got sophisticated IT and VoIP integrated comms, yes, they'll drop the lines immediately. But if you're working from home, or if you're working in a an environment where potentially you don't have that IT upgrade. It's really common. And these scams aren't necessarily targeted at businesses, but they're targeted as individuals. And they go after old people. But who do they know who to target? It's how they get the metadata. Oz mentioned people are your biggest weaknesses. So those stats there are fairly easy. I don't need to read them to you. But the one I want to point out is 96% of data leaks are inadvertent. 96% of data leaks come from your people. And why? Well, because often our systems don't support the way we want to work. I guarantee at least 50% of the people in this room will have been working on a Wi-Fi system that was slow or kept dropping off, or you got sent an attachment that you couldn't read on the device that you were working on. You thought, oh, do you know what I'll do? I'll forward it to my iPhone. And you bypass a level of security that exists to protect your business. And you could be putting it onto a device, saving it in an unencrypted form, and it could be sitting on that laptop at home, and it's got patient records if you're a care home, and you end up with a 15 grand fine. Social media and bring your own device. Social media is very important. It's important to our businesses, and you've heard today about the way that you can try and push information out there and get new business in. And we use LinkedIn, we use Vimeo, we use various means to try and engage with our clients and give information and content. And we allow our staff to do it, but we provide a Wi-Fi channel, so a guest Wi-Fi where they can use their own devices. I have a work phone and I have a personal phone, but I work for $1 billion business, so we've got the luxury of being able to do that. And I appreciate the benefits of saying to a client or to an employee, use your own iPhone and we can enable you to go via webmail and get information. The other thing that's quite interesting is that most designs, most viruses, most threats, and most risks to a business now are being specifically targeted and designed for mobile devices. So we reached a tipping point last year where the access to the internet was more common on mobile devices than it was on fixed line. So you will see now phishing and phishing emails where they are designed specifically to be read and interpreted on a mobile device. Now, if you were to put them on a laptop or you're going to look at it on your desktop, they would look really crap and you'd quite easily know that they were phishing. But they are designed to be read and look legit on a mobile platform. People risk, so this is some stats that we put off from our own client data. People risks, as you can see, are your number one risk. It doesn't matter how sophisticated your IT security is, and your virus guards are like a map. They're only accurate the day that they're written. But you can have the IT infrastructure and protection of the Pentagon, but if you've got a careless or indeed a malicious, employee that compromises that, then the IT doesn't mean anything. So this shows for us, and this again is information that we've got based on claim statistics that have been reported to us. So your vulnerabilities, people are your number one weakness. And then malware and phishing are the number one threats to a business in terms of frequency of occurrence. Years ago, if you lost a laptop, if you lost a briefcase with a load of client files on it, everyone would think the sky was falling. The amount of information that is contained in one of these is staggering nowadays. And the information that can be attacked and extracted, if you sit in a hotel lobby or a coffee shop, you will see and hear an unbelievable amount of information being exchanged in open forum, unguarded. Because I'm a geeky insurance person, I get on the train and I look out for people who are working, and the amount of times I've seen someone walk away from a laptop, leave it unlocked and go to the toilet or go and get a coffee or do something else, and it's just quite staggering, the vulnerability that leaves. So I was asked to talk about some real claims examples, some of the things that we're seeing. The most common occurrence that is reported to us, so I can only tell you what's reported because a lot of these things will be dealt with in-house, but it's ransomware, and CryptoLocker was the one that was sent around and was very prevalent. These are emails that are sent into your business, or they are hyperlinks embedded within emails, and they are very cleverly and sophisticated emails that are designed to entrap your staff and encourage them to click on links. It then exposes a virus, so in the event of CryptoLocker, what it started doing was encrypting all your system. It'd encrypt absolutely everything, and then you would get a ransom demand saying you need to pay us £5,000 or however many bitcoins and we'll unencrypt it. And the decision for you then is, do I pay the ransom and trust that they're going to unencrypt it? They will, it's their business model. Or do I think about the cost associated with doing a backup from whatever your backup system is, whether it be Magtape or whether you have a mirrored server? Do we think about the increased cost that we're going to incur as a result of the overtime and all the other stuff, and then the fact that we're not going to be able to service our clients and bill? So it's a judgment call for you, but cyber insurance will actually assist you in this. Phishing and targeting employee attacks. So BEC attacks, has anybody heard this? It's very prevalent in the US, and it's something the IRS is incredibly concerned about. It's a very sophisticated and evolved form of phishing where they're targeting tax information for clients and indeed in some instances employees in larger organizations because they want to construct and make fraudulent tax returns. This was a growing trend in 2015 and it shows no sign of abating into 2016. Again, you know, your IT security is one element of this. As the video said, it's moving from the back room to the boardroom. If you're using an older version of Outlook, you may not have the relevant virus protections contained within that. So a lot of people will have a reading pane open, so you can preview an email that comes in without actually opening it. And if you're on an older version of Outlook, you can actually trigger the virus. So it's a genuine concern for us. Does anybody use iOS, iPhones for work? You would have seen an update that went out last week where Apple released an emergency update in terms of their security. So if you haven't upgraded your iOS, make sure you do so, because they identified a weakness in their system that enabled the device to be a listening device and to use your iPhone as a spying tool on you. Invoice hijacking, something we see quite a lot. So this is intercepting correspondence and then creating a false trail. So what they'll do is they'll change the bank details and they'll send you an invoice for what looks like a legitimate expense. Some of the guidance that we give, this is very prevalent in law firms because we act for a lot of law firms and we talk about the amount of client money that they hold. And we instruct them to guide their clients to say, don't send any money to any change bank details until you spoke to your account manager. So if they receive a request from us or from anybody else saying change bank details and you're going to send a transaction, make sure you speak to someone before you do it. But yeah, usually they look legitimate. Usually they are legitimate costs. You're anticipating sending this fund and the creation of phony information with different account details, and this happens quite a lot. Phishing, you've heard me say it a couple of times. So this is social engineering. It's targeting an individual. This is a fake email. This is created by our risk manager, a guy called Callum McLean. We have a dedicated portal for our lawyers' clients, which contains lots of CPD and documents and various other bits and bobs. So he took a legitimate email, he created a false landing page, and he changed the L there to a capital I. And he sent it out to a number of clients, and this was done as an exercise to see whether or not how many of them would spot whether or not it was fake or not. And then we fed that back to clients to say, actually, we've created a false account to try and show that there's pen testing and there's a weakness here and these are things that you should be aware of. And those stats were quite compelling for us. But these are the sorts of things that you can happen. You know, it's not a Nigerian prince asking you to give you bank details so he can send you a couple million quid that he's managed to get out of Lagos. These are people that are trying to intercept correspondence, copy that correspondence, and don't forget what we said about social media. The services that are available in terms of an insurance policy, so a cyber insurance policy, include things that are breach response services. Now, so good risk management will limit the likelihood of a breach occurring. It will stop the open goal being scored. But what it won't do is it won't eradicate the risk. We liken cyber insurance to a digital sprinkler. So a sprinkler is not going to stop a fire starting, but it will stop it burning your business down. And cyber insurance is much the same. The breach response services that are built into any policy include things like forensic IT investigation, PR and HR consultancy, and comms. The cyber insurer drops in a breach response team, which includes a forensic IT expert. That IT expert finds out how far-reaching this breach is. It then identifies the source of it, and they can plug the gap. Now, that can be remedial training, that can be disciplinary, that can be the fact that you haven't got a social media policy and you haven't told your staff what they can or cannot do. If they've got bring your own device, they can address that. They then drop in a comms team, and the comms team reach out to every single affected customer and say, sorry, we've had this IT issue, we've had to change your password, as a gesture of goodwill, we'd like to offer you a free upgrade. We can let you cancel without penalty if you'd like. Please sign this in full and final settlement. And then they release a PR statement to the market to say, we've had a data breach, it was a minor issue, not a problem, solved it, we're now the best ticket in town, so you want to be working with us, no customers lost. You may think, and it may be speak to whoever your insurance provider is, if it's us or if it's a competitor, there's an element of cyber built within your PII. Typically that's third-party liability costs, and it may include or it may not include inadvertent transmission of virus. What you'll see is a fairly simple product benefit analysis. What cyber policy covers is all of the breach response services that I've outlined, So these are the things that drop in and stop it becoming crippling on your business. And in terms of the ransom and the social engineering aspects, the extraction of money through coercion, that's in crime. In old money, we used to call that fidelity. They can be bolted together and sold as a combined product. What does cyber insurance cost? Starts £150. We've got an exclusive facility that we've negotiated with Hiscox. So for an SME, you can get very limited cover. It can give you some confidence to trade, and it starts 150 quid. As a percentage of your revenue, it's minuscule in the extreme, and compared to your PI premium, again, it's a fraction. I'm working with a top 20 practice, buying fairly high limits, and it's including social engineering and crime. We're talking less than £10,000 total protection for the business.